Let me know if you can't hear me. I've got a microphone on this time, so try to cut out some of the wind noise of outside. So if I'm not hearable, let me know. Or I'll just keep going for now. And maybe it'll be a completely silent video, I don't know. But I'll watch for it. So I've started doing more of these, get some lives. I want to use some good referenced information, some good resource, some good statistical and researched information, as opposed to just kind of talking about the ideas. Let me move this, stand by one. Instead of just talking about the ideas of what I only see in my office, which is absolutely the evidence that I have that I want to talk about. I also want to tell you about some of the ways that we know. I like evidence-based and evidence-backed things. This is one of the reasons I got the PhD. I like the research. I actually teach research at the graduate level. I like to use evidence-based ideas and things that I can prove, not just things you see on the internet, not just things you find off TikTok. I want to be able to identify the things in the research that actually shows what we're doing. So good to see you, Cindy. If for whatever reason y'all can't hear me, please let me know. I've plugged in a new microphone, so I don't want to do a completely silent video. So the more and more that you come in, just let me know if you can't hear me. So I want to talk about rational motive behavior therapy, the two modalities you'll hear me talk about the most. Thank you, Cindy. I appreciate it. Good to see you, Crazy. Man, I wonder what the weather is up there in the West, because here, although we measure it in Fahrenheit, or what I like to call a freedom temperature, instead of what the Canadians do, it's 100 and something when I got in my truck earlier today, which is the temperature that I call 100 and F this degrees. So that's for you. You can steal that freedom measurement that we use down here. So anyway, the two modalities that you hear me talk about is rational motive behavior therapy and EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization reprocessing. The last live I did was some evidence about EMDR. I think they go together very well. I think they serve a similar end purpose in that it's trying to change the filter that we have, whether it be after trauma, whether it be just some life events. EMDR is very good about dealing with unprocessed or maladaptively processed memories. And a lot of times that's where I'll start with people when they know that something is still bothering them, a trauma or a life experience. And high today was 65 from Canuck. Man, it's like 100 and F off is what it was here. I think it was in the 90s actually, but I could feel the 100 in my truck. So anyway, they serve the same purpose in changing these filters, and I might start with EMDR with somebody if we have a specific event that still keeps coming up, if they know that maybe this is a reoccurring filter that they use, the not good enoughs, the way that other things should be, that somebody else did this to me, being stuck at kind of what I really like to call being stuck at 7 years old. That 7-year-old is when your prefrontal cortex starts to come online, and any of you that have raised kids know that 7 is when they start asking questions, when they start kind of thinking for themselves a little bit. Before that, they're just kind of this, blob of jello that you're teaching not to poop in their pants and learn their letters. And 7's when they start actually thinking about things and making their own personality and asking questions. Well, if you had a horrible childhood and were neglected or not treated well, never felt loved, not just what people think is trauma, like the abuse, right? Physically, verbally, mentally, sexually, however it comes out, the neglect and the lack of love can kind of last a long time too. So I might start with EMDR for that to kind of get rid of some of that automatic go-to. But then we spend a lot of time when I work with clients doing rational motive behavior therapy. So in the world of cognitive therapies is what it falls under. REBT is kind of known as the precursor to CBT. I'll speak maybe another time why I was more attracted to REBT. Some of the people that taught it spoke my language a little better, which sometimes is curse words. So, and it was just a better fit for me. I've trained in both. I trained at the Beck Institute for CBT, which is where it was created. I've trained at the Albert Ellis Institute for REBT, which is where it was created. Those creators have since passed on in the last 10 and 20 years respectively. But it always drew me to this rational cognitive side, this REBT side, because this is what really helped me get fixed. This is what helped me get better was REBT. EMDR certainly served me for some things that I was having emotional reactions to. REBT and changing my filter about life is what what really mattered. And I don't want to just bring you those stories, although I think they're important, and those that I do have permission to do so. I just want to bring you some backed evidence. So I just want to read you real quickly out of an REBT book that was just recently published, some people that I've trained with and that I know. I can't say that I've hung out with them more than professionally, but I know the people that penned this book, and specifically about REBT and how it treats depression. Depression is some of the hardest thing that I treat. Many people, would think that PTSD is the hardest, and it's definitely in the top two. But depression, that generalized depression, everything feeling like it's failing, is one of the hardest things I think to treat, because you just feel so encompassed by the negative, right? So encompassed by the negative. So REBT, what we know in rational therapy, rational behavior therapy, RT for short, which was its original name, and much easier to say, is that your emotions come not from what happens to us. Obviously, the things that happen to us are going to impact us, but the things that happen to us are filtered through our belief system that you've put together over decades of your life, and the good and the bad, and then you come up with an emotion, a consequence, and an emotional reaction or a consequential action. That's where it comes from. The A doesn't cause C. The thing doesn't cause the emotion. It certainly impacts us and may push us in that direction. We don't want to say that we can just turn those things off. However, the A doesn't cause the C. There's B in between A and C, and that's your basic belief system. It's what you've put together. So one of the ideas that we know with rational emotive behavior therapy is what really gets us in trouble, what really gets us to those really negative emotions, those harmful negative emotions, anger, anxiety, guilt, and depression, which I'm talking about today, is what we call demandingness or irrational demands. You're making irrational demands about things that you can't make demands about and you can't control, yet the fact that those demands aren't being met is why you're so depressed, that things should be a certain way. So that demandingness, and the idea is, it comes from that self-downing and life-downing, right? And there are other prominent cognitive therapies, CBT, cognitive behavior therapy, there's some others. And we know that these theories of depression may well explain why somebody would become sad or disappointed. In the REBT world, sad and disappointed is not great, but it's healthy. I can handle sad, I can handle disappointed. It's when that turns into depression that we get ourselves in trouble. So some of these other prominent cognitive behavioral therapies, is coming from Dr. Ellis himself, an 87 paper, may well explain why somebody who becomes sad or disappointed in the face of this adversity, but they miss a central element differentiating those who become functionally sad. Functional, sad is still functional, I can still deal with it, from those who become depressed. And that is that demandingness. It's the demands that you're making, and more specifically, the irrational demands. The irrational ones are not based on evidence. So let me read a little bit more out of this text about REBT, and then I'll put this down, take some questions that are coming in live, and chat with you a little bit about my experience with REBT and how I use it. So the theory emphasizing learned helplessness as the main causal factor for depression, right? It's feeling helpless, posits that the people become depressed when they expect negative, uncontrollable future events, right? How many times have you heard that what you're suffering from a lot of times isn't real, it's what you think is going to happen. And when they tend to attribute either internal, it's about me, global, it's about everything in my life, stable, it'll always be like this, causes to negative events, and attribute external, it's the circumstance, not me, this is the problem, specific, it's just this matter, and unstable, it's just this once, cause to positive events. So when we're doing those things to the positive or the negative events in reverse, that's when we start attributing that everything is falling apart. There's the hopelessness. There's the helplessness that I always talk about. And many of you will find that even if you feel like you got 50 things going against you, how many times have we all, including myself, said, I can never catch a break. Nothing ever works. When we're calm, we know that's not necessarily true. Maybe you don't catch a break a lot, right? Maybe you don't. Maybe you're in a situation that it doesn't feel that way, right? But maybe you do and you don't realize it. Maybe the smallest win is still a win, which doesn't make all the bad stuff good, but it definitely disproves the fact that everything is falling apart. So let me keep going a little bit. Indeed, thinking like that can make one quite sad and discouraged. Sure, it absolutely can. It's getting us in trouble. But again, Dr. Ellis, who created rational motor behavior therapy that I practice, argues feeling depressed doesn't automatically arise from those thinking patterns unless demandingness is prominent, unless you're adding a demand to it. Let me read you a little bit of statistical stuff here, and then I'll just kind of chat, maybe get some questions. Several studies have found positive relations between internal beliefs, or rather irrational beliefs that we just talked about, and depression. In fact, a recent meta-analysis, so putting together other studies, and I believe in this one there was 47 different studies that they looked at, found a medium-sized relation between irrational beliefs and depression at an R of 0.133. So medium doesn't sound like very much when you think of small, medium, large, small, extra large, but the reality is a medium relationship is pretty strong. If some of you are still fairly decent at stats, I was not until graduate school. In fact, I hated it, and now I teach it. I appreciate it so much. You'll remember that as the closer you get to the number 1, so 0 in the middle, 1 is on the extreme side, -1 is on the other extreme side. The closer you get away from 0 and closer to 1, the stronger the relationship between two things. One of the examples I always like to give is, what if I wanted to know how strong the relationship is between hours of sleep and anxiety? Now, I would probably hypothesize less sleep, more anxiety. Let's test that. Now, they're not causal. I can't prove one causes the other when I do a relational study like this. But if that relational study were to come out with a number very close to 1, it's an extremely high relationship between the two. I can say that these two things are related together. I can't get causation out of the correlation. That's a big no-no when it comes to statistics. But the stronger to 1, the closer to 1 you get, the stronger the relationship. So it's already showing a 0.33 relationship between these irrational beliefs, the things that you're demanding and the things that you can't demand, and depression. And let's add to it, that same analysis found that the relation between irrational beliefs and depression, which is what we're talking about, is double in magnitude, double in strength when a stressful event is present. So we were already at 0.3, now we're at 0.67, 0.67. Look how much closer that is to the number 1. 1 is a perfect one-to-one correlation. Rarely see it. But it doubles in magnitude when a stressful event is present, 0.67 is the R, and when this is a personally relevant event, or 0.43, so higher. But so when there's a stressful event and I already have irrational demands in place, the correlation between depression and these irrational demands are even stronger, 0.6. That's very strong. It's double what it is without the stressful event. So, one, can you take the stressful event away? Man, if you figure out how to get rid of stressful events, you let me know. We'll write a book together and be rich. You're going to have them. They're going to be there. But you adding and filtering these stressful events, the activating event, through these irrational demands that you have. It should not be this way. It must not be this way. I must do perfect. You must treat me with respect. The world should not be this way. I should get what I deserve. It shouldn't be like this. It should be easy. This isn't fair. It must be fair. When you filter the things that are going on through these demands, you are likely to end up at that harmful negative emotion. In this case, depression. I must do perfect or I'm terrible. You must treat me well or it's all terrible. I must get a break or it's terrible, right? And obviously we're not trying to change bad things into good things. I don't know how to do that. I don't know what medicine that is. I don't know what skills to give you to change bad things into good things. Bad things are bad things. Some of the people that I see are watching this right now and may watch it later, work with a group of individuals that they're going to know who I'm talking about, that's a restorative and rescue house for trafficked children. We're not going to make that good. We're not going to make that good. That's all there is to it. That's a terrible thing. I'm so honored I get to work with these people, and that these are some victims that I continue to work with in my own office and online, as people that have been through these very difficult and traumatizing things. I absolutely hate that they have, but I'm honored to get to work with them. So we're not going to make these bad things good, right? But how many of these things are we turning from sad, disappointed, frustrated, annoyed, upset, nervous, remorseful, things I wish I hadn't done or had done? How many times have we turned that into anger, anxiety, depression, and guilt. And of course, the purview of this one, or what we're talking about today, is depression. How do we get there? How do we get from sad to depressed? I used to think that sad turned all the way up as depressed. If we can turn it back down, maybe there's some idea to that. But the reality is, I'm not going to make depressed happy. I'm not going to make depressive things good. I'm not going to make them happy. But what if I could get to sad? What if I could get to sad about this event that's happening? What if I could get to sad about the abuse? I don't like it, but I can handle sad. I can handle that. So what's the reverse? How did I get from sad to depressed? My irrational demands. It must not be this way. It shall not be this way. Some of the clients that take maybe some of the longest to kind of not work with, but maybe it feels like to kind of get them to make the turn, are those that are just dealing with this general depression. Of course, PTSD is hard, and anxiety is hard, and guilt is hard. Acute stress is hard. Difficult life events is hard. But depression is often, I almost speak for other therapists, but I can speak for one of my former mentors. It's hard to treat, right? Because when people are massively depressed, they're not typically depressed about an event. Maybe they are, we can work on that one. But they're depressed because everything is going wrong. My wife left me, she won't let me see the kid, I'm losing my job, I'm out of money, I might lose my house, the car's broken down. And none of these things are we actually going to make good. None of them, right? None of these things are we going to make good. And it pains me when therapists just try to take one or two of these things and make it into a lighter or better situation, so that you can just feel a little bit better. And the problem is, I think you leave maybe feeling a little bit better, leave the office, leave online, leave the services, you leave feeling a little bit better, and then you walk outside and something happens. You get a text message from the ex, your account is overdrawn, you have a flat tire. You throw all the good stuff right out the window, 100% of the time, right? You throw it right out the window. I don't think that's how we make people better in the long run. I'm sure that therapists, especially when new, may subscribe to that. I'm not knocking their efforts. I try. You got to learn to get better as a therapist. But I don't think making bad things good is going to be realistic in any way. But what if I'm making them worse by saying they shall not happen, it cannot happen, it must not happen? Let's look at a relational one that causes depression often, right? How many different facets or tails we can go off of when, let's say, there's a divorce. Now, sometimes those have to happen. I'm not a biblical scholar. I can't tell you about the ups and downs of that. I do know that sometimes some couples probably do better getting away from each other. I think that happens, whether it's a rocky start or rough things have happened or it's gotten worse or they're just not in it anymore. I can't speak to that. I'm not a marriage therapist. In fact, I've hired a marriage therapist to take care of that because I'm not very good at giving marital advice. I work daily to make mine good, to make mine strong. But and sometimes they need to, right? Sometimes the separation needs to happen. But whether it was positive or negative or amicable or not, there's a negative side to that, right? What did I do so wrong that it created such a negative environment that we had to split? Well, I don't think you're going to talk your way out of that. I don't think if that's where you are, I don't think you're going to talk your way into positive. Maybe we can say some positive things like you'll be able to maybe focus on your career now, or the kids see less arguing. Maybe there's some things in there, but I don't think we're going to make that good. What makes it so depressing, though, is when people take that and say, this can't happen. It should not happen this way. They should not feel like this. They can't want a divorce. It must not happen. And then on top of the irrational demands, we label ourselves and others, right? We label ourselves not good enough. Or the one that I'm prone to, I label you as the problem, right? I label you as the problem not because you did something wrong. I don't label you as the problem because I know that you're a total disaster and I have no culpability in any of the problems that happen, right? I blame you because I irrationally demand that you must treat me with the respect that I deserve or you're a worthless person. So now I've attributed to this person that I promised to give my love and life to. And now I think they're a terrible, horrible, awful, evil person. Maybe they are. I don't know. But I've certainly attributed that because I said they must treat me with the respect I deserve. I worked with an individual just recently who was asking me, among some other things, like how do they deal with, they're remarried, how do they deal with the ex-wife, who they have kids with, so they're going to need to contact with them, obviously. How do they make that not such a negative situation? That the current wife and her fight all the time, that the husband and the ex-wife fight all the time, that the kids are stuck in the middle. And one thing, of course, I had to say was, why do you keep thinking it's going to go well? Right? You're divorced now. You know, what was the reason you got divorced? This wasn't the person you wanted to be with, and suddenly they're supposed to be magically willing to work with you, right? You keep opening yourself up and sticking your hand in this bag of bees and wasps, because every time you do, it goes bad, and there's an argument and things go wrong, and you keep sticking your hand in there and wondering why you keep getting stung. This is the way she is. That doesn't make it okay. But we're not going to affect the ex-wife. We're not going to make this situation better. And maybe you have to do things like reduce the contact. Maybe there's some technical things we can do. Reduce the contact. Know that when you do all get together for a graduation or something for the kids or a wedding, that it's going to be tense and you guys are going to argue a little bit and maybe make faces at each other and blame each other for problems or whatever it's going to be. And I'm not saying that's a lovely solution to all this. But what if you quit demanding that the ex must do things right and must act a certain way? We're not letting them get away with it. We're still going to make some technical changes. We're still going to put some things, communication in there, some barriers in there that maybe keep us from having to deal with it so much. But are you going to change them? Are you going to change the ex? You're not. You're not, right? And I'm not very good at the therapy side of trying to see it from the other person's side. I don't know why the ex is being like this. Maybe she feels really beat up and depressed that there is somebody else in this guy's life, or maybe she's the one that messed up the marriage and she's dealing with that, or maybe she hates there's another mom in the picture. I don't know. I don't think knowing it is going to necessarily change how they're acting. They've got to get their own help. But if you keep demanding that it be a certain way, knowing damn good and well it's not going to be that way, you keep setting yourself up for failure. And instead of going to the wedding or the graduation or the thing and being upset and frustrated and annoyed and you wish it would have gone differently so that maybe you can take the kid out later, right? Get away from that situation and then have your own get together. Why don't you quit demanding that other person has to treat you with respect? And again, I'm very careful with this one because I think respect is important. I think it's earned, not given. I do think it's important. There are many people in this world, some of which I'm sure are watching this right now, that I highly respect. Some people that we may share respect about, right? And that didn't come easy. But I can't get stuck on the fact that you must treat me with the respect that I deserve or you're a worthless person. I don't know about you. I don't know about that person that cut me off in traffic or stole from me or did something wrong or said something bad about me. And I'm not saying we let that stuff all go. Don't steal from me. Don't confront me and my kids. It's not going to go well for you. But there's a big difference between me doing something about it out of frustration and being mad about it for the next 10 hours because of depression and anxiety and guilt and anger. There's a big difference to that. That's a life-changing difference that I've had to make. And it all comes down to those irrational demands. And you've heard me say it before, and you'll hear me say it 1,000 times because I think it's so important when it comes to mental health, these irrational demands. You can't demand the things that you can't control. And the fact that you keep demanding them is what's making you unhealthily depressed and unhealthily angry. Again, going back to depression. Really, is everything falling apart? Everything? You're watching me on a $1,000 phone, and that doesn't solve your life's problems. But you've got one positive to move forward. You ate today, you drank. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. Maybe that was hard to come by. We're not saying that it's easy and that's all that you need. We're people. Of course, you feel like you need love and people and things to go well, and you want to do. Everybody wants to feel successful. Everybody wants to, whatever that means for you, and everybody wants to feel wanted, whatever that means for you. Everybody wants to feel like they're a good person, whatever that means for you. Maybe that comes from being around other people. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe you do well on your own. But your demand that these things be a certain way. I must do perfect, or I'm a piece of crap. You must treat me with respect, or you're a piece of crap. And the world must be easy and carefree and give me what I deserve, or it's a piece of crap. Is that the person you want to be around? Because I know plenty of people like that. In fact, I used to be one. That's how I got that nickname, the Angry Viking Therapist. In fact, I'm pretty good at it. I have to regularly keep myself from going down that road. But it is your irrational demands, proven with evidence, proven with studies, proven in my office, proven online, proven in people that I talk to from here or any other social media. It's the irrational demands that will move you from the healthy negative emotion, sad, to the unhealthy negative emotion, depressed. And nothing in here says that we just got to suck it up and make bad things good. Sometimes we got to suck it up a little bit, right? Sometimes we got to quit the pity party and move forward. I'm a firm believer in that. It's why the Goggins and the Giaccos and all those people are so famous right now. Sometimes you got to shut up and move forward. But if you're stuck in this depression, realize that the demands that you make, and specifically the irrational demands, but most demands, but the irrational demands, not based on evidence, are making your situation worse. It should not be like this. She cannot do that to me. The world must not be this way. I should catch a break sometime. I can't live while I'm broke. They must pay me what I'm owed. And those aren't things that we're going to give up and just take. But your irrational demands are making them 10 times worse. Now, I'm only on my phone, so I'm going to have to scroll just a little bit. I saw a few things pop up. Thank you, Jason, on audio goods. Not a new microphone, but I've never connected it during a live, so thank you there. Minuteman caught a live stream finally. Mark, good to see you. Lone Star, good to see you. Chicken Farmer, always a follower, good to see you. Hey, Mark, you help me even though I never purchased any service from you. That's awesome, man. I'm good with that. Even though I never served in that way, most people recognize service. You served something, I guarantee it, man. Served family, served something. That's one of the things that I will often not fight, but I have to think about. You know, people. I didn't serve in the military. I served 20 years in law enforcement, 15 years in law enforcement, 20 years in public safety. But you know, that's service too, man. And I don't put myself on the same pedestal or the same you know, service, I don't know, roster as those that left their home and served the military. I think it's they're both service in different ways, but man, I guarantee you serve somehow, serve people. So yeah, definitely don't have to purchase anything from me. It does, you know, definitely a way to dig in deeper. Mark, so during stress with unmet demands would have a coefficient of termination about 45. Yeah, not a coincidence, right? Good to see you, Lady Smith. Thank you for that. A little commentary there. Can I mention the situation manage the way you were? That's the whole thing, Chicken Farmers. So REBT comes from, man, I got stuck on your name. One of these days I'm going to say it wrong because I get stuck, and maybe you know it from a line from Super Troopers. Gosh, I'll say it almost every time I see your name. You cannot manage the situation and manage. And the thing about REBT that I love and how I really got into it so initially was that in graduate school in my PhD program, we had to take a class, and it was something to the effect of like the philosophy of leadership. And we had to read like 5 pretty heavy, different ancient philosophies. One of those was Stoic philosophy, which has become a lot more popular lately. I'm very careful about something we call broicism, where people are just kind of taking one sentences from it and pretending they live their life that way. And it doesn't really fit. You really need to study it to understand it. But I was really drawn to Epictetus and Stoicism, and then eventually to Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius is the tattoo on my forearm. Zeno, the creator of the Stoic philosophy, is on the top of my arm. I'm into it enough that they're tattooed on me, right? So that's how life-changing that those ideas have been, which were Stoicism led into REBT, which even Dr. Albert Ellis has done interviews that that's what he got it from. That's what he designed it from. He was coming off of psychoanalysis, which is wild. That's your Freudian stuff. And he's like, this isn't working. I got to help some people. And he went back to his teenage love of Stoicism and philosophy and started working with this. So that's exactly what you said there is exactly one of the major tenets of Stoicism is it's not what happens to you, it's how you deal with or what you think about that happens to you that will make the difference. You can't manage it. Because the thing is, if you can manage it, manage it. If people owe you money, go get it. If people are trying to harm your family, take care of it. If you can manage it, go manage it. But sometimes you can't, and you're just going to have to manage your emotions about it. Jason, I can change the outcome by focusing on the attitude of the current issue. Yeah, and the trick with current issue is like, nobody wants to feel in a bad place, right? Nobody wants to have negative things happen. Nobody wants to be depressed. Nobody wants to, everybody wants to move in that upward trajectory, right? Somebody I met through a mutual acquaintance is a kind of a well-known sheriff's deputy in Pinal County, Arizona. I know the sheriff there, Mark Lamb, really well. We're good friends, and one of his deputies is a traffic deputy, and they do Fridays with Frank. It's kind of a funny video. He's got a really quick wit about him, and he always talks about he writes tickets to people that get instead of warnings because a lot of people, your learning curve should be upward, right? And a lot of people's learning curve is kind of this, right? Just kind of floats around. Maybe they need some help to get started. Nobody wants to be on this like stuck or downward projection or trajectory. They want to be moving up in life, happier, wealthier, whatever, right? Whatever people want to be. But we don't a lot. And one of the reasons we get stuck is we focus on everything that's going wrong, right? And I'm not saying that getting away from it is easy to do. I hear it all the time, and I've been that guy. Nothing ever goes right. Everything's going wrong. Got nothing going good for me. I feel so helpless and hopeless, right? How much is going wrong? A lot? A high percentage? Well, I'll use an example from today. If I could do anything in my office, it's get rid of insurance companies. I despise them. I hate them. I think they're thieves. I think they're lazy. I think they don't care about you. I only take insurance at my office in the state that I'm at in Kentucky because a lot of the people that come and see me need to use their insurance. I can't do that out of state, of course, but probably 80% of the claims that I send return just fine. They pay what they're supposed to pay. You might have a copay with it. But that 15, 20, 25%, whatever it is, and I got to fight for those because it's a denial. And it's one thing if we screwed up, but perfect examples today is I'm going through the claim denials, and I won't say what insurance company is, but it's one I deal with all the time, unfortunately, and fight with all the time. And they sent me a denial, and it says, this individual's name and ID number is not in our system, so it's denied. So I went to their system, which I have access to, and I ran the person's name and ID number, and there's their information with valid insurance, right? On their system, and it still got denied, so I have to redo that. Anyway, that 15, 20, 25%, whatever it is, of denials is a massive pain in my rear. I spend all day Mondays dealing with them. It's when I do the business of my office instead of therapy. And man, Mondays, it feels like nobody pays, nobody wants to pay, everybody's screwing me over, this isn't worth it anymore, maybe I should just go do something else, right? And it's because I've been dealing with it for the whole day. And just today, dealing with this one, I was like, man, I swear I'm just going to get rid of insurance and have people pay cash and try to get reimbursed by the insurance companies. And I'd lose 3/4 of my clients in my state because the people I work with need to use their insurance, right? I would have to. I needed to, especially when I was in public safety. So the reality is that 20% is effing bullshit that I have to deal with it. But 80% is going just fine, right? But that 20% will often feel like 130% that I'm having to fight. And that doesn't make the 20% okay. I hate it. But I need to be realistic about the fact that I'm fighting for this last quarter. and that 80% of it, they're doing the job they're supposed to do. They're sending me the money they're supposed to send me. They're returning the claims the way they're supposed to. It's just that that's easy and electronic and it's done quickly, so I don't think about it. It's very easy for me to want to sit at my desk and say, screw all of them. They're all pieces of junk, which I'm not going to say they're not at times, but just wanting to get rid of all of it. I'm done. It's a knee-jerk reaction. Government's famous for this. Corporations are famous for this. It's the worst thing that I dealt with in public safety is knee-jerk reactions from administrators, right? One person does something wrong, so we punish everybody. Ridiculous. I don't know how you run companies like that, because the government certainly doesn't do it well. So yeah, if I focus on everything at once, I'm in trouble. If I have 50 things to do today and I think about 50 things I have to do today, I'm in trouble. Make a list of the 50 things, get started on what you can make yourself accomplish. So yeah, I do have a realistic view of insurance companies. That is true. And yeah, Pareto principle, right? 80-20. It fits very well, right? 80-20. I didn't even think about that, but it fits that principle very well. It's really only 20%. It just feels like it's taking up 90% of my time. It's not. It's taking up Monday. And it's not really even taking all of Monday, right? But gosh, man. So rather say it can be this way, it will be this way, but here's how I will work with this. Here's how I'm going to manage it. Yeah, and the thing is, like, even if you can't see a great way out of it, right? Maybe it's an issue that you feel like you can't find the perfect solution or get the weight off your shoulders by knowing exactly what to do. There's plenty of things that we all trudge through. We don't know how it's going to end or how we do it. However, I can be realistic about the fact that I got to get rid of these irrational demands. I shouldn't have to do this. I'll tell you a quick one because stories always do well. And then I'll start to wrap up. But my previous vehicle, I tend to keep vehicles for a long time. I don't like car payments. I've always had trucks. I use them as trucks. And my previous one, I bought it used. One of the rims seemed to be dented after a while, and the tires getting worn out. So I needed new tires. I thought, well, package deal. I'll get online. There's a lot of places you can buy tires and rims. They'll actually go ahead and mount and balance them for you. Send them right to your door. And then I can change 4 tires. I mean, was it going to take me 30 minutes? Change 4 tires? No big deal. And that's 30 minutes, I'd say, is if something goes wrong. Like, I'm pretty quick. I'm a man's man. I change a dang tire quickly, right? Tire number 1, lug nut stripped and stuck, right? Whoever put that one on, stripped it. And I've tried everything. And I am so mad. I can't get this thing off. In fact, one of my, our neighbors are spread out a little bit. One of my neighbors is a mechanic. And went over and we found a smaller socket, that was older to bang on there. And in fact, we had a longer socket wrench, and we're both pushing down on this thing. We're both fairly good-sized fellas, to the point where we had to get a pipe and both stand on this thing before it finally broke loose. But it maybe a lot of you deal this when you get help with things. And when things are going wrong and you get help with something, it seems to go kind of smoothly, like they knew exactly what to do, or I think sometimes maybe the bolt gets scared. Somebody else is coming that knows what they're doing. But I was so angry, man. I was throwing tools and pissed off, and it shouldn't be like this. And of course, nothing's going to make the stress of that good. I'm not the guy that can say, hey, man, at least I got 4 new tires I can put on one day, or at least it's still drivable, or if I put the lugs back on, hey, at least I got a truck that's got gas in it. I'm just not that guy, so I keep my wife around for her. She's that kind of person. I'm the realistic guy. But how irrational was it for me to demand that it shouldn't be going this way? It is going this way, dumbass. It's not good. I don't like it. It's frustrating. I'm sweating. I'm mad. I can't get this off. But there's a big difference between, man, I'm getting really frustrated at this damn thing, and throwing tools because I'm so pissed I can't see straight. What's the difference? Me, not it. It didn't change. What's the difference? It's my demand that this piece of crap should not be this way. Nothing ever goes right for me. I never get a break when it comes to this stuff. And every one of those sentences is total bullshit. You can't prove a one of those. I do get breaks sometimes. May not feel like very often. It must not be this way. It is this way. What are you talking about? It must not be this way. I don't want it to be this way. I have a desire, a wish, a want for it not to be this way. But a demand, get real. Get real. It doesn't work like that. These irrational demands always get in the way. So, all right, I'm about 40 minutes in. So, hey, I'm still glad you made it, medic. Always good to see you. So, I'm gonna wrap this up. It's still hot out here on the porch. It's not quite 100 and F off degrees, but it's warm, even under this fan. So I wanted to get this one out. I'm gonna start doing these on a pretty regular basis. The views seem to go pretty well, both live and some of the replays. So I don't know, we'll see what it does. I was trying to grow this thing. If you don't mind, do the whole like, subscribe if you're not already. You probably are if you've been here when it's live, but I appreciate you spreading the word. Just trying to get the stuff out there. You don't have to buy anything from me, just like you said a few minutes ago. If you can take something from this that helps you out, moves you forward, then please do. It doesn't cost a dime. I just want people to get in a better place like it took me so many years to get. So it's good to see everybody. Yeah, I agree, Buckshot. Like, I'm not a little fella, so anything above 80 degrees is getting close. But I really like that when it crosses 100. Thank you, Lady Smith. It's good to see everybody. Thank you for your time as well. I know that there's things you could be doing. Maybe I'm getting you through some, 40 minutes of something you don't want to do, which is when I tend to do these. I don't want to do paperwork. So it's good to see everybody. I'm going to hit the button. Please pass it on. I'm looking to grow the channel as much as I can. I've been a little disappointed with the growth over the last year. I think things have slowed down, maybe getting out of COVID and some social media and stuff. I appreciate you too, Cindy. So, all right, we'll see everybody. It's going to look like I'm going to poke you in the face, but I'm hitting the X button. See ya.